Well, we've got a major winter storm that is covering a good chunk of the country here tonight. Winter storm warnings from New Mexico to Maine. All sorts of icing problems developing in the deep south. And of course, the big questions for the Mid Ohio Valley and Mid Atlantic and Northeast. All of this is going to be discussed in such incredible detail tonight. So fasten your seatbelts.
No, 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 no.
No,
No, fasten your sleet belts.
fasten your sleep belts. Very good,
Yes.
Joe. And and just enjoy the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Shop Amazon on our referral link. If you'd like to support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, you can find it on the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube. Because if you do, Amazon throws us a little bit of coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you a dime. And we get to do these podcasts with no commercial interruption. And I know you like that. So please, if you would, do your shopping on Amazon. And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board and also on the description to this podcast on YouTube. Joe Rayo's got the coupon code,
Which is winter 2026, which of course means, Joe Cioffi.
Yes, it means that we'll get. Oh, you're throwing me a
I'm,
curveball. Oh
I'm
my God,
sorry.
come on. We've been going nonstop for the whole week. You get 10% off. Very good. You hit me twice tonight. Oh my.
Yes,
I'm impressed
it's
that
going to
you
be one
did
of those
that.
nights.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Anybody know how to start a broken generator?
Oh, is your
That's what I've
generator
got.
broken?
My generator, yours truly did a very dumb thing. The last time I didn't use the generator at all last year, 2025. Last time I used it was during a heavy rainstorm, which knocked out power locally in August of 2024. And ever since then, the gas has been sitting in that generator, and I forgot to turn off the fuel switch. So it's been sitting there and probably gunked up the carburetor. And so as a result, regardless of how many times I've tried to pull on the switch and turn on the battery, nothing. So I am without a generator tonight.
Well, let's hope and pray that you don't
I'm,
get you
I'm
don't have
hoping,
to you don't that you need it. Okay.
St. Anthony, are you listening?
Yeah,
I don't need
exactly. You
that.
need you also need a St. Francis of Assisi medal for your dog.
Oh, yes,
You
yes,
know,
of course.
I got a bunch of them. I'll get you one. All right. So I don't know about you. I've been kind of struggling with the forecast all day because we're at the point now where it's okay. Let's watch Let's watch the radars. Let's look at the observations. A couple of clues that I'm trying to pick up, but the problem is you don't know if it's going to translate or not. But I have noticed that there are places where the models had shown in the Ohio Valley, for example, in lower Ohio Valley down into Tennessee, that showed that certain places were supposed to go over to sleet, and some of them did not go over to sleet, or if they did it several hours or more later. And we're kind of in a situation here where if the changeover is delayed by even an hour or two, that could make a huge difference in terms of the total snow amounts.
Oh, absolutely.
I adjusted mine slightly down, uh, though I actually the guide some of the a lot of the guides went lower than I did, at least through the midday guidance. But this is just at the point now where we're just going to have to we're just going to have to look at observations, watch the radars, and just see what happens.
Yeah, this is well. It kind of reminds me of what one of my professors from City College, Richard Romer, Professor Romer, used to say. Trying to forecast a snowstorm in the New York metropolitan area or in the tri-state area is like playing pool with egg-shaped balls. And this is a perfect example about this. You look at it, you say, "Oh, no question, it's going to be a heavy snowstorm," and then you start seeing models like, especially the NAM, being very aggressive by suggesting that we're going to see a round of sleet later tomorrow and into tomorrow night. And now it shows not necessarily the NAM, but there are indications that some of the other models are trying to trend colder and suppress that sleet area further south. So you play it, you play it. This is not forecasting anymore. It really, once we get into tomorrow morning, it's going to be nowcasting. We're going to go literally, I think, hour by hour, trying to figure out what's going to happen.
I know. I totally agree. All right. So you know what? Let's get into this. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight on this special Saturday evening Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And those of you in the background, whether you're new to the show or you're lurking around, we're glad to have you here. And if you're new to the show, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss us. Normally, our schedule is Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m., but we add shows when there's a storm around, which is exactly what we did this week. We added a big show yesterday. If you missed it, check out the YouTube library and take a look at last night's show where we had Bill Goodman. Alan Casper was on with us. Now I'm drawing a blank. Who's the third person we had on last night?
Dave Intolerable? Yeah.
The Intolerable, yes, Intolerable. So it's funny that I couldn't I genuinely drew a blank there. But Dave was on too. And it was, it felt like it was a really good show. Got a lot of compliments about it, and I'm very thankful for that. So, if you got the time, go back and look. But subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn your notifications on if you don't miss us. And of course, if you like the show, do by all means hit the like button because we've been getting a lot of likes lately, which is really great. All right, do you want to start with our forecast maps locally? And by the way, if you're watching from another part of the country. We're going to take a look at what's going on elsewhere, and particularly because I'm in North Georgia, we've got ice storm warnings up down here, and I going to spend some time on that as well. So just be patient, okay? So anyhow, you want to start off with the forecast, your forecast?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get it together here.
All right, you do that. I'm going to. Well, you know what? While you're getting your map, I'll do mine. Okay.
Sure.
So, what I did was basically I just shaved a couple of inches off the snow amounts near the coast, but I want to at least, put an asterisk on this because the numbers I have do not include sleet, and if the models that are showing hours of sleet. It's conceivable that we could get an inch or two or even a bit more on the sleet side. And when they do snowfall measurements, folks, it's snow/sleet. So sleet counts in the snow measurements. So I just basically shaved a couple of inches off on the coast. And then, of course, I look at the evening guidance and think that maybe I shouldn't have. But, you got to come out with something. So for the Jersey Shore, I went about 4 inches or so on the shore before it changed over to rain. And then north of Toms River, it's 4 to 6, and that extends down into Southwest Jersey. Basically, my 10-inch line became the 8-inch line. So I have that from Baltimore to Wilmington, Delaware, to Philadelphia, to New York City, extending into Nassau and the northwestern part of Suffolk. The east end, I went a little bit less, 6-ish. And then I've got the 10-inch line cutting right across New York City into southeastern Connecticut. The 12-inch line in on the Westchester, very close to the Westchester-Putnam line. Northwest Jersey, from there northward, I basically just went 12 to 18. Give it a range. I mean, I can't imagine. I think, Joe, the worst case scenario is that the sleet maybe gets to you very briefly. Okay, very briefly, if it does. But that would be sort of the northern extreme of how far north it could get. But hey, you know what? It could get up to about New York City and Long Island and come to a grinding halt. So that's going to really impact snow amounts tomorrow.
It is on my Facebook forecast, and before I do anything else, ring, ding, 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 we're up to 123 likes. Thank you very, very much. on my Facebook forecast, I said verbally that I thought that tomorrow night. First, I think again the lion's share of what's going to fall in terms of snow everywhere is going to come during that 1 to 7 o'clock interval tomorrow afternoon and early tomorrow evening. And then after that, and we were discussing this last night, I think then we may have a change over to sleet, especially in my neck of the woods, south of 287. Although, Joe, you mentioned maybe getting up as far as where I am, and it's quite possible. I even said that, for places up to about the 84 corridor, there might be an hour or two of sleet. But I think, again, whatever we're going to put down in terms of snow tomorrow will come during that 6 or 7 hour period. So if we put down, let's say, 1 to 2 inches per hour, there you go. There's your 6 to 12 or 8 to 14 inches in many localities tomorrow. And places further north, let's say from my area on north, that stays all snow, could see higher amounts, 15, 16, maybe even up to 18 inches in some locations. I did put, no, I didn't. I haven't put it up yet. I'll do it right now. Um, if I can just here, it's an unchanged map from last night.
Okay.
If you want to, if you want to factor in the sleet, I would put the greater emphasis on the lower end of each range down here. So maybe for the south shore of Long Island, closer to 8, North Shore closer to 10, New York City, 8, depending upon where you are, Staten Island maybe 8, the Bronx maybe 10 or 11. Further to the north, north of 287, a foot, maybe even higher. And again, you go north of 84, well north, and you find where it's all snow, 15, 16, maybe even up to 18 inches, especially in the higher terrain area. I really didn't see much sense in, shaving off an inch here or a few inches there or whatever like that. I said, I went with this last night. I'm not going to make any really major adjustments. Certainly, there's more snow, enough snow for everybody who is a snow lover to be happy, and we'll see how it all pans out, on Monday.
I think the fun part tomorrow really is going to be watching what goes on in the afternoon and whether there's going to be some thunder in there because the forcing uh, and the vertical motions are very, very strong. And I would
Yes.
think that that would be conducive to some, you showing the FGEN, and you could certainly show it again when the time comes, that there could be some thunder in there.
Couple of claps of thunder, rumbles of thunder. Don't be surprised if that happens, because in situations like this, when you have where the FGen, as I said, pointed out last night, the contours, the gradient is very, very tight. That's what tends to sometimes indicate that there could be some thunder snow embedded in those areas. And of course, that also indicates locally heavy snow bands as well. And if you get stuck underneath the snow band, bang, before you blink your eye, you could have a quick 1, 2, even 3 inches of snow in only an hour's time.
All right, so there's your watches and warnings map up on the screen. I don't remember ever seeing so many places, so many states at the same time under winter storm warnings, going from New Mexico to Tennessee and North Carolina, and then northeast up into Maine. And to the south of that, it's ice storm warnings, which we have up for a good chunk of South Carolina, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Northern Georgia, including Atlanta. There's a little gap there in Northern Alabama where it's just a winter weather advisory. And that's because there's actually going to be some warmer air that's going to push northward uh, through Alabama because that's where one of the primary low is going to be. So there's going to be some warmer air coming up. But because of the wedging of the bitter cold air into the east down into the southern Appalachians, those that are, basically lined up to the east of those mountains are going to see freezing rain for the overnight and into tomorrow morning. I had a little bit of sleet, and even if I was actually shocked that I had some wet snowflakes mixed in, very small, but definitely some wet snowflakes mixed in this morning. for about 30 minutes. It was very light, but it did pop up. We have ice storm warnings across much of Mississippi, down into northern and central Louisiana. These ice storm warnings have been extended southward and also into East Texas. Winter storm warnings down in along the Texas coast, including Houston, and I believe San Antonio. I have to tell you something. Except for there was a freak snowstorm in San Antonio. I think sometime in the early '80s. I think it was in the early '80s. Maybe it was in the middle '80s. Uh, but during that whole period, I can't remember ever seeing winter storm warnings up for parts of coastal Texas yet. That seems to be happening more, and that seems to be happening more and more in the last 10 or 15 years or so. We just loaded with winter. Almost the whole state is under a winter storm warning, and Texas is no small state. Um, Very impressive here. Even ice storm warnings looks like ice storm warnings. Let me make sure that's Austin and San Antonio um, dealing with that. So this is indeed quite the storm. And here's what the surface map looks like. I'm centered on the Gulf states. We've got this bitter cold high in upstate New York. Cold air has been draining southward all day long. It's been in the 30s to around 40 in South Carolina. It's in the 20s in North Carolina and in Tennessee. We are seeing some of that colder air coming into North Georgia now, just waiting for the precipitation to get here. And there's a stationary boundary, and you can see how uh, on the south side of the stationary boundary in southern Alabama, temperatures are in the 60s, and those and upper 60s down on the Florida Panhandle. So that's that warm tropical air trying to push northward. And then further west, we're looking at uh, below freezing temperatures in northern and central Louisiana. Temperatures have been dropping in coastal Texas into the upper 30s and low 40s. And you go up north around the Dallas Fort Worth area, Joe. It's on the ob here. It was 16 and snowing there. I think that's snow there. It's some sort of precipitation. Low teens and single digits in Oklahoma, teens in Kentucky, single digits across Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and you get into below zero readings. These are 4 o'clock temperatures. Oh, and I think in north central New York this morning, Joe, I think there was a spot there that got to, was it 32 below zero or 38 below zero? I'm one of those two. I forgot what the number was.
Might have been, well, let's see. Well, there were places up in the northern part of New York State. I can remember back in the 70s, what it was, Boonton, not Boonton. Oh,
I
this
know.
stuff used to come. This stuff used to come to me like bang, like that.
I know.
And now it's like you're groping. I'm groping.
Well,
Saranac
whatever.
Lake.
Yeah. You're I'm on the same page with you. Um, Here's
I
our
remember there
satellite.
was one place up in upstate New York, the day before the President's Day storm in 1979, upstate. There was something like a negative 53-degree reading. Yeah,
Yeah.
this kind of reminds me of that. Very, very cold.
On the satellite loop, there was a problem. Looks like they fixed it. There was a problem because I just ran it before I refreshed it. It actually showed clear skies across Mississippi and northern Alabama. We know that's not the case. And we've got clouds. High clouds are starting to stream in now. Subtropical moisture coming out of the Pacific, moving northeastward, feeding into all of this. I mean, you couldn't have timed this worse with this Arctic air that's around to get all this moisture. And again, if you look at the surface map, we're not there's. It's not like there's a big low down here. It's basically a stalled frontal boundary with maybe the development of an inverted trough that runs from the Gulf Coast northeastward up into Alabama. That's all this really is. It's not some organized cyclone. And the other part of it is because of that, you can see how widespread the precipitation shield is. I mean, the radar is just loaded with uh, precipitation across Texas, in Oklahoma in particular. There's some heavy rain and even a couple of thunderstorms going on in southern Mississippi. There's a batch of rain that is heading across Alabama now and then heading for me, and that will cool my temperature down. I'm 35 here, so as soon as it starts raining, I probably will go down below 30. And meanwhile, we do have some radar echoes aloft beginning to show up in southern New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and over into Virginia. There's some heavier echoes in southern Virginia, although I don't know if any of that is actually reaching the ground. That'll be a good thing, a good clue as to what's we've been talking about the very dry air and whether is it going to start right away or is it going to you're going to lose a couple of hours because of the dry air. That's another question that we're going to have to try and figure out.
Yeah, and northern New York, getting back to cold temperatures, because I was having trouble remembering places that have seen some incredibly cold conditions, and particularly up in the Adirondacks, they experience some of the state's lowest temperatures. Minimums frequently go well below zero in the wintertime due to high elevation and Arctic air, heavy snow cover. I mentioned Saranac Lake. Other places are Lowville. Lowville is in Lewis County, located southeast of Watertown, and also Malone. Malone is prone to extreme cold. Sometimes they get crazy wind chills up there of 45, 50, 60 below zero. So we often hear about International Falls, Minnesota, well, and most of Minnesota, or parts of Wisconsin being very cold. Don't set aside New York State. New York State, in its own right, upstate New York can be a very, very cold territory in situations just like this, and we will see in the coming days ahead some really frigid temperatures up across the upper part of New York State and also central and northern New England. Probably the cold. You think it's been cold, of late? We may be looking at the coldest temperatures yet coming our way later this week.
All right. I mean, I'm just was looking at some observations to see what's going on. WPC uh, giving us anywhere from an inch and a quarter to an inch and a half plus of liquid out of all of this, from south coastal New England, southern New England, back to the Hudson Valley, across New Jersey, and then you get into some inch and a half plus liquid amounts in Virginia, where freezing rain is going to be a big deal, into North Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, northern Georgia, south and west down into Louisiana. I mean, just really loaded here. These are 7-day precip amounts, but the vast majority of it is coming with this particular storm system. So this is pretty much a clean number. I did not look at what WPC was doing on the snow situation. So let's see what the probabilities are. And on the map that's up there at the moment, this is the probability of at least 1 inch. So you can see that goes all the way back into New Mexico. But I'm going to change it and let's go to a probability for at least 4. Okay. And
Right.
here's what WPC has. And um, this is through 1 a.m. Monday morning. The dark red, which is sitting on New York City and points northward, a 95 to 100% chance of at least 4. And if you go down into southern New Jersey in that salmon color, that's an 80% chance for at least 4, and that covers Washington, D.C. Baltimore is in the next level higher. I always like to use the dark blue 40% line. So if I was to draw a regional map snowfall, I would put the 4-inch line right on the Delaware, Maryland border on the Delmarva Peninsula, cross it into Virginia, north of Richmond, well north of Richmond, sort of halfway between Washington D.C. and Richmond, and then back into West Virginia. Kind of curls up, and that's because the primary low is going to try to go up the west side of the Appalachians before it transfers all its energy to the coastal low that's going to develop off the Delmarva Peninsula. 4 or more in northern Kentucky, into Indiana. Shall we do? We'll do 6 or
8?
more. You want to
Oh,
do
yeah.
8? Well, here's 6. Um, an 80% probability of at least 6 down to central New Jersey. Uh, and as far as 8 goes, we have an 80% probability of at least 8 in New York City. And in northern New Jersey, north of let's call it Route 80, 78, somewhere in there, Interstate 80, Interstate 78, the light blue there is a 70 to 80% chance. So if we use the 40% chance for at least 8 as our line, we would put 8 inches down uh, south of 195, uh, a fair distance south of 195, out down to about Wilmington, south of Baltimore, north of Washington, D.C., and then again flips up a little bit into West Virginia, extending across southern Ohio. You're seeing a high probability of at least 8. And if you want to do 12, because you know, we don't get to do 12 too often, but WPC has a 30 to 40% chance of at least a foot across Long Island, New York City, down along Route 78 and points northward. So, they're kind of looking at this and wondering probably the same thing as we are, which is, how much is going to fall in that very impressive front end thump. And I almost hesitate to call it that, but it really, that's what it is. And I'm hesitant only because it's going to be, it's not going to be a thump for 3 hours. I mean, it could be a thump for 6, 7, or 8 hours in some places, or more. So WPC is fairly bullish on this idea that somebody is going to get a foot plus.
Is there anything higher? Do you want to go?
18. And well, there's a non-zero probability of 18 in New York City. Okay. You, Joe, are in the 10 to 20% chance for at least 18.
Wow.
Yeah, you know,
I think that the biggest snowfall I've ever had in the 20, let me see, I've been here in '02. So this year is my 24th year, my 24th winter. And the biggest storm was the President's Day storm of '03, not '79, but '03. I think we had something like 18 inches of snow here. That was probably the biggest snowfall that we've had at my house.
right.
So,
Well,
I mean, we've had a few significant ones. The Boxing Day storm, and the last time we had, a really hell's a poppin'. I don't know, hell's a pop. Last time we had double digits snowfall in one sitting was March 14th, 2023. We had 11 inches at my house, but that was an elevation snow because there were places that were higher than me, like a few hundred feet higher, and they had something like 15 or 18 inches, and places that were lower that had much less than I did. So, and that was a heavy, wet, slushy snow. And least thing I hope, if I get 11 inches tomorrow, I hope at least it's a puffy snow, one that will make it easier to blow with the snow machine.
well, I hope that is the case for you. We'll know soon enough because tomorrow night at this time we will be on uh, while all of this is underway.
Now we're going to be on
So
twice tomorrow, correct?
we'll be on twice tomorrow. We should let everybody know we're going to be on twice tomorrow. We'll be on at noon, and we'll also be on at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. So don't forget noon show tomorrow and 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Um, I'm going to bring the 18Z European that just came up and see if we can figure out what it's doing. Now, the first map time frame you see here is tonight. And you can see where it's precipitating, at least where the model says it's precipitating, freezing rain in Tennessee, northwest Alabama, rain to the south that's moving eastward, and the wedging of the cold air. You can see how the isobars are bent against the mountains of northern Georgia, western North Carolina, into western Virginia. That's that cold Arctic air is trying to, seep southward and has been seeping southward with some success. And I'm going to move this along. Big high, the 1041 Arctic high in upstate New York, sitting in the northern Catskills, taking in a show. And here's tonight. This is 1 a.m. Snow moving into Washington D.C. into Baltimore. Darker blue snow starting to form further south. Much of West Virginia, except the southern part of the state, where we have sleet and freezing rain going on. and this is at 7 a.m. So at 7 a.m., if the European is right, again, the lightest blue snow, is that reaching the ground? I don't know. We'll know tomorrow. I'll tell you one clue that we'll have tomorrow. If you're in this zone here, if you're in the Hudson Valley, southwest Connecticut, and eastern half of Long Island, if it's snowing in this area, that's going to be a telltale sign of what's going to happen later in the day. That it's going to be as bullish as some of the models have indicated. At 1 p.m., now this is a big difference because the old runs, Joe, at 1 p.m. had the sleet line right. If you cut Jersey in half, 195, Interstate 195, that's where the sleet line was. The new European, only the southernmost counties, I mean, even Atlantic City is just getting ready to change. This is at 1 p.m. Sleet on the southern edge, freezing rain down through Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and in Virginia, and quite a bit of it. And here's your low center. I'll just mark it off for you so you can see. But here's that secondary, right here is that secondary low. This is, I'm not the best with moving the mouse or drawing an L, but just deal with it. And here's your primary low in eastern Tennessee, trying to go up the west side of the Appalachians. If it wasn't for that Arctic air mass, this low would not be there. This low, the primary low, would be heading right up toward Pittsburgh and beyond. But that
Right.
Arctic air is really kind of weighing all this down. We'll jump to 4 p.m. Now at 4 p.m., the sleet line takes a big jump to just south of New York City, kind of touching Brooklyn. It's raining along the New Jersey shore. Heavy snow in the dark, all this dark blue. This has to be 1 to 2 or maybe even 3 inch an hour snows in the areas to the north of where the sleet line is. So again, it's a little slower, and then by 7 p.m. you see the sleet over New York, over Long Island, Long Island Sound, back to New York City. Still snowing in northern New Jersey. And
201, Joe.
nice. Now, the European likes to show freezing rain a lot. It's not one of its strong suits over the years. So this could all very well be sleet rather than freezing rain. Running down into southeast PA. And by the way, you folks in southeast Pennsylvania should know that a lot of times in situations like this, the warmer air gets to you, but because of the Arctic air wedged in the way it is, the low levels are going to be really, really tough to warm up. In fact, I'm going to take a sounding near Philadelphia. This just to show you. The temperature at Philadelphia at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening is 23, okay, in this area of sleet and freezing rain. And if we go down to about where I think Millville might be, or maybe just east of Millville, and we look at the sounding, the temperature there is 34. So it's quite a temperature gradient over a short distance. And even further south, if we go to Atlantic City, or near where Atlantic City is, but right on the Jersey coast, it's 38. So it's not 50-degree air that's coming in here, because as a matter of fact, with the low center of the south, they have a northeast wind there, so the temperatures are not going to be really. They'll get up in the upper 30s, but I don't think they'll get much above that. And if we do a sounding over New York City, 24 at 7 o'clock. So yeah, it goes over to sleet. I hope it doesn't go over to freezing rain. But if it does, it'll be 24 with freezing rain, and that will not be pretty. But again, heavier snows in Connecticut, the Hudson Valley at that time, now up into, of course, Massachusetts and southeastern New England. So, I mean, I guess it's a combination of a slower movement of the warmer air aloft coming in, and the colder high kind of wedging down. And a strong thump of snow on the front end that the European has raised its snow numbers from the prior run.
Well, again, we know and we've been saying for days that it's going to be the afternoon hours and early evening when we're going to get the greatest amount of precipitation. And it has been vacillating, going up, going down, or whatever, as to just how potent this punch is going to be. It'll be very interesting to see. And, it might very well be, Joe, that once it's done with us, even though we've been seeing, the models say that snow or precipitation is going to linger much of Sunday night, uh, the intensity is going to be so dramatic from, in terms of snow, maybe 1, 2, even 3 inches per hour, to all of a sudden just coming in with, very, very light snow on and off for the remainder of the overnight hours tomorrow night. So, as I've been saying, the lion's share, whatever we're going to get out of this, it's going to come in that 6 or 8 hour interval tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. So, get out there and enjoy it, because I think that once we get to, 7 or 8 o'clock tomorrow night, either it's going to be in the process of winding down rapidly, or it may even be done
Yeah.
if the
Well,
models are,
well,
you know,
look at the 10 o'clock map on the European. It's central and South Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, done.
dry slotting.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
by
and that's what Dave Tolerous was talking about tomorrow night as well. Uh,
yep,
they talk
the
about
dry
dry
slot.
slotting. Yeah.
And here at 1 a.m. it's done. Right? No, that's 4 a.m. I'm sorry. Let me just back up one. This is 10 p.m. Why? Where's the one? Here we go. 1 a.m. So at 1 a.m., some rain in eastern Long Island. Okay. Uh, and some snow with a little bit of sleet and freezing rain along the south of the coast of Connecticut and Rhode Island into southeastern Mass. But yeah, the bulk of it is all done. So yeah, it's really kind of, for the most part, it's really about the front end here. And whether the models are correct in showing the big vertical motions and the big intensities. And there's no reason to think that that's not going to be the case.
I agree. I agree 100%.
By the way, I
And
just go ahead. I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't
no,
mean
I,
to interrupt.
no, I've been saying it for days, and I'll continue to say it until it actually happens tomorrow. But I think, and in fact, the game plan that we have at my house is that we may very well go out and start, snow blowing, maybe at 6 or 7 o'clock, because by then, even though it's going to probably continue to precipitate for part of the overnight, but by then I would say much of the really heavy duty stuff will be down, and might as well just get rid of it then, and make it easier, the next day to get rid of whatever is left over.
By the way, I just noticed this. Remember when I put up WPC's map, right? For the probability of at least 18. I didn't notice this until just now. Um, but okay, why didn't it switch? That's very interesting. All right, let me try this again. Okay, just a moment. Hang in there, folks. Oh, I know why. I'm sorry. I just realized I'm working two screens here, so I got to switch to the other screen. I didn't notice this until just now. Uh, this is this is ending 1 o'clock Monday, Joe. Boston has a probability of a 40 to 50% probability for at least 18.
Well,
Is right there in the blue, and in the period before that, which of course now doesn't want to load, it actually has a area of 30 to 40% probability of at least 18, halfway between Poughkeepsie and Albany, and also in parts of northern Connecticut and into western Massachusetts. So, hey, sometimes you get crazy numbers out of this sort of stuff. So it's not impossible. Would you like to do a little FGEN tonight?
yeah, we can do that. It doesn't really look like it's changed very much from what I showed last night on the show that we did, but
Okay.
let's
I'm
go
gonna.
to
I'll go through the super chats that we hit, and you get your maps up. Joseph Hawasi. I hope I got that right. Thank you for hitting the tip jar. Live near Trenton, watching models HRRR NAM shift between snow and sleet. Sunday evening, trying to grasp soundings and skew-tees. Ooh, he's a serious guy if he's doing skew-tees. Seems there's a blip above DC at 750, 775. That is where the warm layer is. It's way up there. That's why the change is not to rain but to sleet. So there's this warm layer that's sitting up there at 750 to 775 millibars, or roughly about, let's say, 9,000, 9,000 to 9,500 feet, somewhere in there. And that is what is causing the snow to melt and then refreeze, because it's got a long way to go on the way down into bitter cold air. So there's plenty of time to refreeze into ice pellets. So if that's not, if that's overdone by the models, then, we'll find out tomorrow. Scott's Adventure, thank you for hitting the tip jar. Also, Joseph Pan, uh, and Bilbo Swaggins, Joe. Bilbo Swaggins. And he says, almost showtime, fellas. Any dry slot occurs from Long Island and a little north of Albany at any point. I don't know about Albany, but it's certainly, for the areas in and around New York City and points south, that dry slot is probably real. Jason Kaplan, thank you for hitting the tip jar. And Izzy D, thank you for hitting the tip jar. So now, Joe, if you'd like, I'm going to go try to get some water because I'm dying of thirst. And
Okay.
go ahead and do the FGEN.
Well, before I do that, I want to just mention here that yours truly continues to look at the NAM FOOS, the tabular numbers. 540 is the magic number. Anything below 540 and the upper atmosphere is cold enough to support snow all the way down, usually, to the surface. Well, at 24 hours, at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the thickness is at 539. 539, just 1 decameter under the criteria for snow at 540. And again, this is for the upper levels of the atmosphere, let's say at about 18,000 feet. At 6 hours later, at 7 p.m., the thickness jumps to 547. This is at LaGuardia Airport, by the way. Now, the T1, the boundary level temperature, is -5. So what we're seeing is that during tomorrow, when we have that tremendous thump, if you will, when we see the FGENs and the omega climb rapidly, a real punch, if you will, of atmospheric energy. At the same time, the upper atmosphere above, let's say, 18,000 feet is warming dramatically. We see again a jump from 539 thickness at 1 o'clock to 547 thickness at 7 o'clock. Now, that's why the NAM is suggesting or indicating sleet during tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening, because the upper level part of the atmosphere is warming. And as a result, instead of snow, you're getting rain. But then as that rain drops down through the lower end of the atmosphere, down toward the surface, with the boundary level temperature at -5 Celsius, that rain is going to freeze into pellets of ice and sleet. Not freezing rain. This is going to be the kind that comes down, and if there was any fresh pavement or plowed pavement, what you would get would be ice that would probably hit the pavement and bounce, not necessarily freeze on contact. But in any case, that is a demonstration of why the NAM is doing what it's doing, because it's showing a tremendous rise in the upper levels. Again, 539 thickness, Joe, at 2 o'clock, at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, 547 at, excuse me, 547 thickness at 7 p.m. tomorrow night, 545 thickness at 1 a.m. Monday morning. Still abnormally mild, but then the thicknesses just collapse. And in fact, by the time we get to 2 o'clock on Monday afternoon, they're back down again to 532 at a boundary temperature of -6. So the top levels of the atmosphere are expected to warm, but the upper level, but the bottom levels are going to stay cold, and that could set the stage again for some ice and sleet. On the screen right now, you can see this is the NAM. This is the 18Z run. This is the area that you see here, these purple contours, which get so close that they actually look like one big splotch of purple. That is the area of FGEN, or Omega, and it is just hitting into the New York metropolitan area, covering most of northern and central New Jersey. This is as of 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So that area of energy is just getting ready to move in on New York City. And in fact, here you go. At 11 a.m., it's over New York and now moving into the lower Hudson Valley. And at 12 noon, it covers all of Long Island, northern New Jersey, much of the lower Hudson Valley, Rockland, Westchester, Putnam, Orange County, with energy. So certainly, if this is to verify, we'll be seeing snow coming down very hard. Again, maybe 1 to 2 inches per hour during this time frame. And then again, don't be surprised if you hear a clap of thunder. Don't be surprised if, when you're looking at radar on your phone or on your laptop, you'll see bands of moderate to heavy snow occurring. Again, right around this time, associated with that area of FGEN. And then as we continue through the rest of the day, this is 12 noon. Here's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So by 4 or 5 o'clock, all of this is moved well to the north and east of the immediate tri-state area. And I would suspect, if you take this at face value, that we would probably see the precipitation dramatically winding on down at that particular point in time. But that's just one model. That's the NAM. Let's take a look at the European. This is the 18Z European run, and you can see that on the 18Z European, this is for 10 o'clock. Here's 1 o'clock. This goes at 3-hour increments. And here is 21Z or 4 o'clock. So the European is slower by about 3 or 4 hours versus what the NAM is showing in terms of the maximum. It still shows a significant area of FGEN or atmospheric energy. It just lags behind the NAM by about 3 or 4 hours. This would suggest that we'd be seeing heavy precipitation, heavy snow, or snow maybe mixed with a little bit of sleet occurring at 4 o'clock. It is at 7 p.m. By 7 p.m., it's lifted away to the north and east. So by 7 p.m., according to the European, the heavy-duty stuff, the heavy artillery, is all but over. GFS, if we wind back here, again, the GFS goes at 6-hour increments. It shows you the area of FGEN at 7 o'clock in the morning, well south and west of the New York metropolitan area. Now at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, it has entered the New York area, is moving into the immediate lower end of the Hudson Valley, northern New Jersey, central New Jersey, all of Long Island, fully much into this area of energy. But take a look now. Again, this goes at 6-hour increments. So from 1 o'clock, here comes 7 o'clock. Boom, up and out. And it pretty much sides with the European in that regard. So if we look at the NAM as the outlier, because the NAM is faster by about 3 or 4 hours as opposed to the global models, the GFS and the European. If you go with the global models, we will probably be seeing the worst of this, or the heaviest of this, hitting sometime around noon, 1, 2 o'clock, and by 7 o'clock, that has moved off to the north and east, and we'll be seeing that activity wind down. So there you go, Joe.
All right. I'm just kind of perusing a few other models here while you were talking. So this is the HRRR, the 23Z HRRR. The 0Z will go out to 48 hours. So this one only goes out to 18. So this is as of the last period here is the 18-hour is noon tomorrow. So at that point, the HRRR has almost 4 inches in New York City, 2 at Islip, 2 at White Plains. It's got 4 to 7 in the southern half of New Jersey, with 6 and 7 inch amounts in southernmost New Jersey. Also in southern Pennsylvania, extreme southeast Pennsylvania and south central PA. South of Harrisburg, Harrisburg's got 5.1, Lancaster 5.6, Washington, D.C., 7.5, 7.1 at Baltimore. What did we? Oh, Winchester, Virginia, 8. I think the 8.9 is probably Harrisonburg. So some hefty numbers there in Northern Virginia. Again, this is through noon tomorrow. If we look at what's very interesting, I just find the RGEM has not run for a couple of runs today, but they finally started. They finally are running the 18Z, and the RGEM. The Canadian's been kind of like the one, among the models trying to show warmer air coming up in lesser amounts. Well, the RGEM, which is the regional gem, and sometimes it can be a gem, showing 1 foot plus snows in much of the northern New Jersey. But even in southern New Jersey, looking at some 7, 8, 9 inch amounts, 10.2 at Wilmington, 11.3 at Baltimore, 1 foot plus snows across Connecticut, the Hudson Valley, Long Island in the 10 to 11 inch range. So, we're seeing, just as we're struggling as forecasters, the models themselves are struggling on how to handle all this Arctic air. Um, I just think we're, as I said earlier, I just think we're at a point now where I just want this to just let it rip. Let's get this going and get it started and see what happens. And it's not that it's precipitating for a longer period of time. It's really going to be about that 6 hour or 7 hour period from say noontime till 7 o'clock for areas either side of New York City, in southern New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania. It comes earlier than that you get into that thump, and we'll see how it plays. Um, any final thoughts here as we're
Yeah,
coming up?
let me just share one more map or one more chart, and that would be le plumes. Now I know that you like to show the maps generated from the plumes, Joe. But I enjoy taking a look at the graphic models. For example, the
Oh, I
three
do
hours.
too, but I just for and the thing is, on mine it comes in faster. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
But this is what I'm showing right now is so evident of what I've been talking about in terms of, excuse me. Actually, I thought that would be better. I mean, I think it would look better just keeping it shrunk like this. Um, I've been saying how, between like noon and 6 or 1 and 7 tomorrow, that's when the peak is going to be in terms of the storm. And if you take a look at this is the 3 hourly snow QPF, and you can see here's 12Z. This is 7 o'clock in the morning. And notice, if you will, how with time this ramps right up. Here we go. This is according to the plumes, peaking out at 18Z or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Here is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then after 4 o'clock, look what happens. It just drops right off. The snow activity or intensity drops right off. Not tremendously sharply, but a noticeable drop from 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon until finally when we get to 9Z or 4 a.m. on Monday morning, it's all but over in terms of snowfall. And so you can see that the plumes, too, are saying or indicating in its own numerical way that the heaviest, most intense, most concentrated snowfall is likely to occur sometime between 1 and 4 tomorrow afternoon. And then after 4 o'clock, we begin the decline, so to speak, in intensity. It'll still be snowing tomorrow evening, but it will certainly not be snowing, it appears, at the same rate or the same intensities as what you would be getting. And if you're wondering what the total snow is, now this is for White Plains. Total snowfall predicted. I see here they've got. I'm trying to find the mean, and I can't find the mean.
I'll give you the mean off the map that I have of the. I can
It
tell
looks
you
like 12. It looks like 12.
for White Plains on the SREF. The mean is okay. Now on my map it says, now the thing is, the SREF those members populate. So you have to kind of refresh it a few times. Uh, on the map here for 21Z, for White Plains, Joe, it's got a 9.5.
Okay.
And for New York City, it has 7.3. It has
I
12.6 for Poughkeepsie, 6.2 for Trenton, 5.9 for Philadelphia. 7 for Tom's River, uh, 10.8 for Harrisburg, 12.8 for Hartford.
And this is, it's a funny thing when you put the cursor, and I just did it, and so those of you who can see my screen can see this. Cumulative, this is an explanation for the total snowfall. Cumulative snowfall forecast in inches. The SPC uses an equation, snow liquid ratio, SLR equals, at 1,000 over 100.6 T, based on a paper by Boone and Etchivers, 2001, to compute SLR, where the T is the warmest saturated temperature, dew point depression, less than 2 degrees Celsius, and the lowest 300, blah, 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 blah. Note, this is different from the SLR from SREF output in AWIPS, which is calculated from the 2-meter temperature.
Oh, Jesus, Mary and St. Joseph. Really? Really? I mean, do we really need to know this?
No, we don't.
I mean, especially since it's going away.
Yes, sadly, we won't be subjected to this anymore very soon.
Exactly. Maybe after what you just read, it's probably a blessing that we're not going to be. Jeff Yinks, thank you for hitting the tip jar. I did respond to you on the chat board. Again, it's not so much when you say a slight shift. In my mind, I'm thinking, everybody kind of goes to the place where, well, the low is further south or further north. That's really not what we're dealing with here. It's not so much a shift. It's just maybe the cold air is just a little bit more important. A combination of that with perhaps the front end being a little bit more important in terms of how much precip it's going to produce. Because when we look at all of this, we don't necessarily see a lengthening of the time that the precipitation is going to fall. So it's just basically being squeezed into the same time frame. But numbers have inched up in some of the guidance coming into this evening. So we'll be getting the primary guidance before too long, in a few hours. So we'll see if that continues, because a lot of times it doesn't. So just bear that in mind. Joseph Carr, thank you for hitting the tip jar. And I think I got everybody. Did I get everybody? Something tells me I left one person out.
I really would like to know.
Oh, yes, I did. Kenny Salerno. Thank you, Kenny. My final thoughts, snow sucks. I really can kind of understand that. Not everybody's in love with it.
I'd really like to know, and I don't even think he has the guts to put it on the chat board. I'd really like to know how old Reuben Fairchild is.
Why, did he say something?
Yeah, well, once again, the level of immaturity is amazing. He has to put everything in. He has to put everything in. He has to put everything in. Well, he's talking now. He's like yelling at us.
Why?
So, how much do you all want to bet this turns to damn ice? And then it's just amazing. All the maps will be wrong.
Okay, now he's being an ass. See, that's what an ass does. Okay, yeah. So he's doing it for attention. So just ignore him. There was one guy on the chat board last night that I didn't respond to, but and I didn't really want to. Saying how the 5 of us were wrong. Couldn't see the whole thread of the conversation if he was but I got the flavor of the conversation that he was thinking that it was going to be all snow from start to finish for everybody and so on, and that we were wrong, and touching on the fact that, our experience of, I would guess between the 5 of us, we have over 200 years of experience. Okay. We have as much experience as this nation has been around, and when you put it all together. So, really? I don't understand people that do that. It's to me, it's sort of like, look, and he could very well. It's not even him. It's not even about being right or wrong. Okay, it's the lack of respect. Okay, and in my mind, it's sort of like saying, I know how to put a Band-Aid on a paper cut, therefore I can do open heart surgery. That's kind of where that logic to me is in my mind. That when people say, they're sitting in their armchair and they got their remote in their hand and they decide that they know everything about everything. Uh, yeah, I mean, just because you know how to put a bandage on a paper cut doesn't mean you know how to do open heart surgery. That's the analogy for me. So
And
anyway,
I'm not ignoring also those people, Joe. I don't know if it's on my end or your end. They keep saying that my mic is too loud.
your mic is too loud.
They keep saying that I'm much louder than you are.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
your setting is the same as mine.
okay, well, I
You're just, you know what it is? I do this too. When I'm like really into this and I'm really, into the conversation, I tend to bring my level of my voice up. Okay. So maybe that's what it was from the standpoint of it being too loud. But no, you're modulated fine and I'm modulating fine. It's just that we're shouting.
all right. So why don't we just we've been on for an hour. Why don't we just cut it short here? We'll be back tomorrow in the snow. In the snow
Oh,
tomorrow
yes.
at
Now
noontime.
Ruben's crawling now back. He's saying he's 27 years old, and
Oh my God.
he says he's 27 years old. Like I lost the chat. It's going so fast. Uh, I'm um, I'm 27, and Mr. Rayo is correct in his Central Park methodology. You guys rule. Okay, he's crawling back. Hey, we're only 7 likes short of 300. Can you give us the 7 likes so that we can shut the show down and then come back tomorrow at 12 noon for the first of two Joe and Joe Weather Show podcasts?
Here's the bell. I'm waiting to ring
Yes,
it one more time.
one more time. So let's try and get 6 live. So just a reminder.
And it is
Noon
indeed
to
it's indeed a wonderful life.
yes. Um, we will be back. We'll be on tomorrow at noon. Okay, noon, and then we'll come on again. Thank you, and we will come on again at 7:35 tomorrow night. So we will come on as the thump is beginning, or in some places it will already have gotten underway, and we will come on at 7:35. Which point we'll know for sure who turned over to rain, who turned over to sleet, who turned over to freezing rain, and who is still saying staying all snow. So we will see you everybody tomorrow, 12 noon. Mark it down. You got nothing else better to do. So watch the show. Night night.
Good night, folks. Happy snow.